The Brad Johnson Show. I'm turning losers like you into winners like me. You're about to enter the winning zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I could not be more excited or proud or just stoked and completely excited to have the gentleman on the show that I have on the show. And his name is Randy Lee, and he is known, ladies and gentlemen, as the flipping genius, which I don't know, like I'm definitely a branding guy. Like I know my marketing stuff and the branding stuff, and flipping genius, it's just flipping genius. I mean, wait till you hear from this guy. So please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the show, Mr. Randy Lee, the flipping genius. Randy, how you doing, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing really good. Thank you so much, Brad. It's such an honor to be on here. But I got to tell you, I mean, just the idea that you would have any admiration for the things we do is pretty cool. I mean, you know, I've been around for a few years, but this is probably one of the biggest honors I've ever had.
Ah, man. You know, Randy, I get that so often on the podcast. People just completely honored by what I'm doing. And, you know, it kind of surprises me in some ways just because, you know, I'm just me. I'm just Brad Johnson. But that alone, that sentence alone is saying so much that I totally get why people would feel that way. So you're welcome for being on the show. I hope you're...
I was going to say it's kind of like Budweiser. You know, that old slogan, when you say Budweiser, you said it all. And I kind of think of you that same way. So pretty cool.
Brad Johnson says it all. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Forget Budweiser. That stuff is disgusting. Okay. So, Randy, I wanted to have you on the show because, you know, I'm all about multiple streams of income and I'm not just having one. And that's why I advocate having multiple streams of income, which is why they call it that. So basically what you do is very cool, very unique. It's definitely not the traditional entrepreneurial pathway that I have gone as myself, selling info products and just, you know, selling myself basically. Well, not like in like a slavery type of way, but more of a digital nomad type of way. Anyway, but what you do is sell cars. Now, tell the people a little bit about that because I think that is just completely fascinating.
Well, see, I've seen, and I'm sure everybody's seen these spots on television where people are flipping houses, and a lot of people would like to do that, but they don't have the time or the money to do that. Well, see, cars can be done for a lot less money, and usually the margins are even greater. So that's what we do. We buy cars, try to buy them low, do a little bit of work to them, sell them for a profit, and then just keep doing that. And we call it car flipping.
Genius. And that's kind of the brand right there. It's genius. That's great. I mean, I cannot lie. I love big margins. Those are the best kinds. I mean, why would you do anything with small margins? And I love too, this is kind of the everyman thing. Like for somebody like me, I have, you know, so much money. I would invest in real estate all over the world. Not a big deal at all. And I think most people should strive to get there, but a lot of people aren't. And that's kind of why this podcast exists, is to help those #loserly people. Exactly. So, do you find it draining, Randy, to be around those kind of #loserly people all the time with, you know, what you're doing? I mean,
well, honestly, Brad, I really feel like I am one of those people. I'm pretty much at the.
So sorry to hear that.
I call myself a bottom feeder, but I do get fed, you know, and I know you do things in a way that most of us can't understand. But I try to do something that is very understandable.
I see. Yeah. And you know, the problem with bottom feeding is that it works, but often you're just packing on the pounds around the middle. And, you know, there's only so much Tabata that you can do in a day. So, yeah, definitely. You know, and that's why I think it's good, Randy, that you came on the podcast, because not only are we talking about what you're doing, I wanted to talk to you because, like I said, multiple streams of income. And I feel like this is something that the Brad Johnson brand could totally get behind and elevate. How do you feel about that?
Wow, that blows my mind. The idea that you would even be interested in doing this, I could only imagine, because I do a lot of, you know, just regular cars, but the kind of cars that you probably even operate are things that maybe I wouldn't even recognize. So that could be amazing.
I think it would be, Randy. I think it would be. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, you're the hashtag flipping genius, right? But I'm Brad Johnson. So I know a thing or two about flipping stuff. So maybe I'll kind of lay out my process, and you kind of lay out your process, and then we kind of compare notes and see how much mine is better than yours. So basically, what I do is when I purchase a new car, I always make sure it's new, because old cars, I mean, unless it's like a classic, I've got my 69 Camaro and stuff that I work on myself and completely rebuilt myself. But unless it's one of those type of things, like an actual classic, I mean, if we're talking 90s or early 2000s, I mean, that's just a waste of money. So I make sure it's the newest car possible, straight off the lot. Then from there, I make sure that I hold on to it for at least 3 months or so before I decide to flip it. So when I do flip it, then I kind of just hire somebody to sell it for me. And that's pretty much my process. It's pretty basic, pretty straightforward. But there's a lot of, just my personality that goes into it, which I think is why it's so successful.
Sure. Well, that makes sense for you. I think you have an advantage, Brad, because somebody that gets that vehicle from you is going to have your name on the title as a previous owner. And I think that may be where you're actually experiencing the profit. A typical vehicle for me would probably be a 10 or 12-year-old vehicle with somewhere around 180,000 miles that I buy for around $800 or $900. And my goal is to make about $1,000 profit on that. Now, $1,000 to you, I'm sure, is just, lunch money. So we're just in a different
That's appetizer
ballpark.
money, Randy. Appetizer money.
Appetizers. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Okay, so $800, $900. Wow. And then you want to sell it for $1,800, $1,900. Got it.
Well, I'll have to
Okay,
put a
so
little bit of money into it, so we'll probably sell it for around $2,500, and I'll get my $1,000. So, yeah, you would have to do one of those a day just to buy your appetizers. So that's yeah. I don't. What kind of cars do you usually buy, Brad?
So usually we're talking Bentleys. Those are some of my favorites. Definitely the Lambos on all the Lambos. Ferrari, I find them harder to flip because I think a lot of people, I think the Lambo is definitely the hot deal right now. And then, some Alfa Romeos, those are kind of the low end, though, not too big into that. There is quite a big McLaren market, too. I think that's, especially for young entrepreneurs, they're kind of like, oh, McLaren, like that's the way to go. You know, you can definitely tell they're inexperienced because they're going straight for the McLaren instead of, working up to something else. But I did want to touch on the fact that you said you put some money into it. So I think that would be really good for the audience to hear. Just kind of what does that look like? Because I'm picturing, like, usually when I'm getting ready to sell, I put on some spinners, probably bigger wheels than what's on there, thinner tires type of thing. Usually that's about it as the spinners. So what would you be spending some money on? Because that a couple $100 that would be in there. I don't see that really getting you enough spinners to really make the.
I think I'm working from a different place. A lot of times I'm not putting things into it. I'm taking things off of it. And one of my favorite things to take off of a car is just the filth and grime that comes with a car that's probably been repossessed, because a lot of our cars are repossessed. And we'll just clean them up.
Like demonically possessed, or?
Well, they were. What did you say? Possessed?
Like demonically possessed?
No, not possessed, but repossessed.
Oh, yeah, repossessed by a demon again.
No, well, we're the demons. We get the car. You've heard that title pawn place where they say you get your title back with, and well, we like to get their title back instead of them. So that's what we do. And then my favorite kind of flip, my favorite technique is called the $1,000 car wash, and that's where. Basically, that's what we do. We take a car and we clean it up, and it's ready to sell. And when we do, we can sell it for $1,000 more than we paid for it. That doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes we have to put an alternator in a car, a battery, or maybe something more major than that. But we get the car so it's mechanically sound and safe for the consumer. And they're very seldom do we ever see any Lambos. I'm not sure if I know what that is.
Oh, well, you'll have to come out to my place sometime, Randy, and I can show you what a Lambo is, because I've got a garage full of them. So
that sounds
yeah,
awesome.
This is great. I love the $1,000 car wash. I think if you're gonna get your car washed, you might as well spend at least that much, because at that point, then you know you're getting a real car wash. So I think that's great. So talk to me, Randy, about where you source your vehicles from, because I feel like most cars in that price range should literally be in a dumpster if they made dumpsters that could fit a car.
Oh well, I am a licensed auto dealer in the great state of Alabama, and most of my vehicles are actually bought
Great.
at dealer auctions and other auctions. I also have signs all over town that tell people that I buy cars. So when before somebody sells a car, a lot of times they call me to get a price, and so we do buy cars from individuals too, and we try to give them a good fair price, and that's that's pretty much we work with everyday people, common man.
Okay. Common man. Yeah, and that's the one benefit of targeting that niche is there are a lot of them. I think there's quite a few. I mean, you get to kind of the stratosphere where people like me, people like Brad Lee, the fellow Brad, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, things like that. Like it's pretty rarefied air. So targeting the common man, you do have a lot more flexibility there because there's a lot more of them. So let's go back to that great state of Alabama. I mean, that seems like pretty high praise. So what is that like? That is one state that I have never been to. I've traveled all over the place and haven't made it there.
Well, Alabama's a beautiful place. We have beautiful beachfront property in the south end and on the Gulf of Mexico, where we touch Tennessee at the top, where there's beautiful hills and mountains, and there's a lot of beautiful lakes, and there's incredibly beautiful women here. And that's what probably we're known for the most. The Alabama ladies are some of the most beautiful women in the entire country. I married one.
Wow. That is very impressive. I'm impressed, especially on the beachfront property. I mean, that I would not have expected. I think, no offense, but Alabama, generally speaking, lacking teeth. That's usually what just comes to mind, and that has nothing to do with the landscape or the oceanfront property, which is shocking to me. I think you guys, I should put you in touch with my marketing guy, who's just fantastic, phenomenal. I think Alabama could seriously use some help. I mean, who knew that Alabama had oceanfront property? That is wow.
Beautiful, beautiful white sandy beaches and
My goodness.
absolutely some of the most beautiful waterfront that you'll see in the entire country.
Yeah, you guys definitely need to get on that. Definitely. Goodness. Okay, so Randy, if somebody wanted to get started with this flipping stuff, what would be the best way to do that besides, probably talking to me or talking to you?
Well, I think that's why I started my own podcast. Brad, I call it the Flipping Genius, and it's available. It's available wherever you can find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all of the places. And I think that's probably the best thing I can think of, because like you, I wanted to give back. So I started the podcast, and we talk each week about flipping cars. And it's a way for people to hear what we're doing, and we're gradually growing the Flipping Genius brand all over the country. Our group on Facebook here in North Alabama has over 31,000 members, and we plan to expand to every part of the United States. And that will give this regular guys like me a chance to work together, make some money, and become flipping geniuses.
Wow. I love the mission. I love the brand. I love the 31,000. That is a great start. I mean, that is a great start for sure. Dude. Okay, so let's talk partnership here, because, like I said, the Brad Johnson brand, basically I put my weight behind anything, it is going to completely fall over in a really good way.
Wow.
Because I'm pushing against it with my weight, which is considerable, but it's all muscle. Don't worry about that. So what I want to do is just talk to you about how we could integrate the Brad Johnson brand with the Flipping Genius brand. And I'm just completely spitballing. I'm thinking what we do is that I just license my name, and then you call it Brad Johnson's Flipping Genius.
Wow.
And boom, I think that would completely dominate everything, and your sales would completely go through the roof.
It's incredible how you could come up with that so quick like that. That is an idea that we'll definitely have to talk about. I don't know if we can afford you. That's the only issue that I have.
There is that, we could talk about, kind of a 75-25 split on all profits until, a certain date to deal with that original licensing fee, and then go down to a 65, 65 whatever type of split as well. So, there's options here. I'm a generous guy, Randy.
Well, you just make my head spin the way you throw those numbers around, though.
Yeah, that happens. I hear that a lot for sure. Okay, awesome. So, Randy, as an entrepreneur, I think when I get entrepreneurs on the podcast, I like to ask them some questions, just because I feel like there's a lot of people starting out trying to become entrepreneurs, failing miserably, and it's pathetic. So what I like to do is just kind of pick your brain as far as what to you makes an entrepreneur, what to you is like some tips, tricks that people could use who are just starting out, who want to become entrepreneurs, but just have no idea where to start besides listening to the entire backlist of the Brad Johnson Show.
Well, it's funny that you asked this, because I was listening to your show just yesterday. I really was. And I heard you say some words that stuck with me, because I'm also a songwriter, and I've got a good friend of mine who writes songs, and he wrote a song about a dog that he had. And the name of the dog was Go Do Be. And you said those words yesterday, Brad, on that podcast I listened to. You said, Go Do Be. And I think those words may be the biggest words for an entrepreneur. If you sit on your hands and don't do anything, nothing will ever happen. But if you'll just go, do, be, you have a chance to accomplish something. And that's what I heard. I heard you say that. It blew me away, because I have those words written down on this little rock that I look at every day.
Wow.
And it just tells me that, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not trying. So get out and just get after it, and you get that momentum going, and you've got a chance to succeed. And that's what I think. And I know what I think is trivial compared to what you bring to the table, but I tell you, those words coming out of your mouth, wow, that blew me away.
It is interesting to me how often my words of wisdom circle back to come out of the mouth of my guests in words of wisdom that were mine, that somebody took and then used. So that's awesome. It's the circle of life, as I call it. I do like to say, though, that, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not me. And then also, if you're sitting on your hands, how can you type? That is foundational to being an entrepreneur, is typing on a computer, or at least having a VA type for you while you dictate. And that's hard to do without hands. So I would definitely recommend not sitting on them. So Randy, this is great. This is just fantastic. I think people are going to get some serious hashtag value bombs out of this thing. And wow, the Flipping Genius. People, go check out the podcast. Start flipping some cars. You can do it Randy's way. He might kind of know what he's talking about a little bit, but there's also my way as well. And Randy, we're going to chat about getting this licensing stuff set up.
Absolutely.
Wow. I'll have my people call your people. How's that sound?
I'll tell my people to answer the phone.
Do it. That is always a good idea. You never know. That's what I always say, is you never know what kind of awesomeness is going to come through the phone. Chances are it's probably a spammer trying to get your credit card information, but chances are it might not be.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been a fantastic pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. Any final parting words for the audience here? You're talking to millions of people here right now, Randy. So no pressure. Don't be nervous.
I just thank you for listening. Tune into the Flipping Genius, and I know you're going to be listening to the Brad Johnson Show, because, geez, if you don't, there must be something wrong with you.
Yeah, totally. I've actually looked into legally having psych evals for anyone not subscribed to the podcast. Apparently it's against the law, but the laws are subject to change. So we'll keep working on that. Thanks, Randy, for coming on. People, go check out the Flipping Genius podcast, and make sure to share this out with anybody that you know who could use some more hashtag winning in their life, which is probably everyone because let's face it, you are just look in the mirror. All right, well, guys, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. But I already said that, so thanks for listening. Ciao.
You've just listened listen to an episode of awesomeness. Now, go out and spread the awesomeness and help others fix the mess that is their life and help them stop being a loser and start winning in business, health, and their personal life by getting them to listen to The Brad Johnson Show. Book your face, tweet your tweets, and Insta your grams at Brad Johnson Show. The Brad Johnson Show. Winners only.
When I was in school, I absolutely hated writing. It wasn't until I was a bit older that I came to understand the power of words. If you're a business owner, you understand that power too. A business blog, when done right, can drive sales, increase revenue, and get you more customers. But as a business owner, you probably don't have the time to do all that writing. Plus, if you're not a copywriter by trade, you might feel like you're just kind of throwing words out there and they're not actually accomplishing anything. The good news is, there's a simple solution. Check it out. I call it the ultimate blog post checklist for businesses with online stores. This checklist will allow you to write better, more effective articles that convert readers into buyers. It's full of easy to follow examples to get your creativity flowing based on experience of nearly 1 million words written, and best of all, it's effective on any type of article in any industry or niche. I've successfully used this exact checklist on topics from pool table reviews to investment advice. Tired of spending tons of time writing stuff that doesn't convert? This checklist will change that by giving you highly effective blog posts and articles that transform readers into paying customers. Go to invicta.enterprises/free checklist and start saving time and transforming your writing now. That's invicta.enterprises/free checklist.